Hi, welcome to Sportsy. Let's talk sports. We have spoken to athletes. We have also had a recent experience with esports athlete. Today we are going to talk to a friend who has a transformation in his career from sports management to sports education. He had a dream job working with MLS on the fan development side, working with Beckhams of the world and Kakas of the world. From there, he came to India, was heading a club, DSK Shivajian as a CEO, had a great stint with them. And from there, today he is the program director for GISB and also the head of education for IoT. Please welcome Neel Shah. Hi guys, thank you for watching, thank you for sharing, and thank you for liking. Please do subscribe on the channel to spread the word about Sportsy. Let's talk sports. Please subscribe.
Hi Neil, good to see you on the virtual platform Sportsy, where we talk about sports and we go with the line "Let's talk sports." So good to see you here.
Thanks so much, Suraj. I appreciate you having me on.
So for the viewers, we will make sure that Neil introduce himself as well. But just to give a quick introduction, a great friend. Met with him during his CEO days of I League team, DSK Shivajian, and then from there moved on to he became an academician and working in the sports education market as well. Today we are going to talk to him about one of his early life before he came to India, which is about the football and that to MLS. So Neil, if you can just give us a glimpse about your journey in MLS, and so it will be really good starter because people are very curious about MLS as a game because it's not a primary game in the US, and still it has got the popularity over the time. Really want to hear from you.
Yeah, sure. Well, happy to talk about it. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. MLS is still very close to my heart, even since I've been away from the league office for a while. I was one of those lucky people. When I was 16 years old, I was very clear professional dream was to work for Major League Soccer. And MLS launched in 1996, and I was 16 then. And I thought, okay, for the next 6 years, all I'm going to do is develop myself attractive to somebody. I did a lot of interest. Eventually, I got to New Jersey, did my MBA in sports management, and got a job with Major League Soccer. I got my dream job. I was in the fan development department, and it's called fan development because in 2002 you have to do a lot of development of fans, not engagement. And the league was only 6 years old, and as you rightly said, soccer was not the number one sport in the U.S. or North America. It wasn't even the number 2 or 3 sport, and professionally it's probably number 4 or 5. And if you add university sports, college sports, it's still probably number 10. So there was a lot of work to be done to develop a fan base. And that was something that it was part of my mandate, is to figure out how to get more people engaged into the league. So I really got to focus on 2 areas. One is relevance and one is relationship. Relationship or relevance is about helping our clubs ensure that their teams are relevant in their local communities. So I was at the league office in New York City. So all of the teams were essentially, I was working for all of them and figuring out how to get them more relevant, how to be, because if you're not the American football team, the NFL team, the NBA team, or anything else, you're not that relevant. The newspapers aren't talking about you. It's not, the taxi drivers aren't talking about you. So how do you become relevant? Relationships is key because youth soccer was very popular in America. Youth soccer was something that we all did. So and helping them feel a part of the club as well. So my early stages at MLS was all about that, is creating programs and partnerships to ensure more relevance and relationships.
Interesting. So you spoke about a 16-year-old getting involved with the sport, and at the age of probably 22 after your MBA, looking at area which nobody thought of, like the fans engagement or fan development was not even heard of, because people in US because the university sport and the NFL and NBA, I think the fans were developed by default. It was not something a special effort was taken. So was it different because people don't play soccer in US after the grassroots? At grassroots level, there is a lot of soccer, as you said. But they don't pursue that very much professionally during the college days, because the scholarship are mainly towards the basketball, baseball, and football. So what were the toughest challenges that you encountered during the fan development days of MLS that let people know that this is a professional sport and can be played?
See, the thing is about the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball or even the NHL, these these leagues, these athletes who are part of these leagues, considered the best in the world. So even if they're not all American, they're still the best basketball players in the world will come to North America to play basketball in the NBA, or the best baseball players in the world will come from wherever they're coming from to America to play in North America to play baseball. When MLS was going on, while football was being watched in 210 countries in the world, the players that were on the pitch in 2002, 2003, even later, were not the best in the world. So which means that people in the US were feeling like, what's the point of watching this? And they're not necessarily excited because they know they could just turn on the TV on a Saturday morning and watch Manchester United or FC Barcelona or Juventus play, and they're the best in the world. So if I'm going to spend 90 minutes to 2 hours of my time, I want to watch. The other part of it was that football or soccer in America was also considered a foreign sport in a lot of ways. It wasn't really respected by the mainstream. By mainstream, I mean editors of newspapers, chief marketing officers of corporates. Mainstream, just being the regular guy or girl you see in a bar who are watching reruns of a New York Yankees Boston Red Sox game, but won't be watching a MLS playoff game even if their own home team is playing there.
Oh.
So when you're not relevant, when you're not relevant or respected, it's very difficult to create impactful and effective fan engagement and fan development initiatives because it gets bashed down right away. So the first thing that we had to do is just be patient. Be patient and work with the smaller, low-hanging fruit, which to us was the youth soccer community, the Hispanics, people from Latin American countries who grew up around the sport, who respect the sport, and then that niche of 18 to 34-year-olds who like watching European football but don't necessarily watch MLS, try to get them in as well. But it wasn't, I'll tell you honestly, it was some of the most humbling times of my entire life because I'm sitting in top of I'm a official at a professional sports league in America. It's a dream job for so many. It's a dream job for me. But I would go out there in the country and get bashed and made fun of, saying, "Why don't you go get a job at the NFL? Why don't you get a job at the NBA? It's way cooler." And I would have to say, you know what? I love this sport. It's done so much for me. I want to help it grow so more people can have the opportunity to be benefited, impacted the way that I have. So to answer your question very clearly, it wasn't easy, but I think that in those times where it's a little harder, you have to be more creative. It's no different than coming to India and trying to promote football in a cricket country. If it was a European country where soccer or football was the number one sport, it'd be a little bit easier in a lot of ways. Then you have different challenges. But it forced me to be very creative and innovative, which I brought over here to India as well.
Yeah. So, frankly speaking, yes, I've been a avid football fan or sports fan. The whole MLS struck me when David Beckham came to LA Galaxy. So that is where my followership for MLS happened. Actually, I came to know about at that level. And again, pardon my ignorance, but that is where the whole, because of the Beckham move, the thing happened. So do you think that MLS did good by roping in the people who are like towards the retirement from the European side, the way even ISL has done it? Do you think it actually helped? Because Rooney is now playing, it went back obviously, but Beckham there, now he owns the team in Florida. But with those kind of aspects, did it help the sport?
Yes, it's a good question. And I believe in the concept of a marquee player or designated player, as they call it in MLS. I do. But I believe that there's a time when it should come. So I don't believe in the concept of kind of what we did here in India as well, as bringing in marquee players too early in the league's existence. The reason why, and we saw it in MLS as well, we did bring in marquee players in the early years of Major League Soccer. What happens is those players are playing in big American football stadiums with sometimes American football lines. The broadcast isn't that good, and the players around them are also not that great compared
Yeah.
to their status. So it doesn't really, it's not the best advertisement for the league. It's not so different in here, where when the early stages of marquee players coming over from Europe to play in US or play in India, the environment wasn't so great that it was the best advertisement for the sport or the league in the country.
Mm-hmm.
When David Beckham came in, the league was 11 years old. The league had developed players like Landon Donovan, had helped DeMarcus Beasley,
Yes.
Josie Altidore, and others. The league had a number of soccer-specific stadiums that are built and designed only for the sport of soccer, for
Yes.
football. And the league had better broadcast deals and partners like Adidas and others who were invested in them and in the growth of soccer in America. So when David Beckham came over in 2007, it was the right thing. If he came over in 2001, it would have been a joke. You would have had a lot of people tune in to watch David Beckham kick, curve a ball into on a free kick into the net. But when what they see around him is not a very good advertisement for why they should continue to tune into MLS. In 2007, when they turned on to watch LA Galaxy play Chelsea for David Beckham's first match, they're seeing a beautiful Home Depot Center. They're seeing a packed stadium, 27,000 people. They're seeing good players like Donovan and others around Beckham.
Yes.
They're seeing a good coach, players who played in the World Cup. So I'd say that one is David Beckham definitely had an impact on, anyways, one was just people like you sitting in India that, all of a sudden being aware of India. There were probably many more cases, millions and millions and millions more people like you who liked the sport, but probably didn't pay attention to MLS until Beckham joined.
Correct.
Two is he brought a lot of mainstream interest in MLS. Up until that point, the biggest story was Freddie Adu. Freddie Adu was a 14-year-old who was signed by DC United, and unfortunately, that was the highlight of his career. That was our big story in MLS when I was there, up until David Beckham. And now David Beckham comes, and everyone like Jay Leno, David Letterman, all of these different mainstream personalities are talking about him and bringing LA Galaxy jerseys and others. The third thing is ownership. If you see that after 2007, there was a lot of more owners have come in, and that trend has gone. A lot of these rich billionaires who have invested in MLS have come in because not only because of David Beckham, but they started maybe noticing the league a little bit more because Beckham helped, and then sorted Frank Lampard or Ibrahimovic or David Villa or Kaká, all those who came after him, they helped. Finally, is that it helped with jersey sales and attendance. So those are two things that MLS struggled a little bit with in certain markets, but when Beckham came in, it really opened the floodgates for people to not only attend matches, but to buy jerseys, especially in LA.
Yes.
So all of that were some of the impact that I saw. I was fortunate enough to work with David on a few different community projects in 2007. And it was amazing to see the kind of just impact and emotion that was surrounding him. And all of that are intangibles, but they were all there. And I think he really added to the glamour and the appeal of MLS. And I'm really happy that happened.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned was very apt, as you said that in India, I think India got those marquee players too early in the system, and it should have the maturity would have been really. I think they would have waited for the maturity to come in, but yeah, it's all about the perception. It's the right and wrong. Yeah, we go in the back, we go back and then decide what is good and bad. But I think for MLS, Beckham worked, and a lot of things changed after that. And from there to women's football and the World Cup, I think it's a great journey about the American soccer, what we call football. It's American soccer. I think the journey is phenomenal in the whole. Do you think it has come to a mainstream now?
Yes and no, and it's a healthy debate to have, because now they're heading towards 30 teams. The league is 25 years old. They're heading towards 30 teams. Markets like Atlanta are just unbelievable. The stadium they have that the team plays in, and also the kind of attendance figures they have, and even the brand values. I think upwards of $500 million in just a few years. Wow. You have markets like Portland and Seattle and Toronto and others that are extremely relevant in their cities. Almost every team has a soccer-specific stadium, or will have one very soon, and broadcast deals have gone way up as well. So in one hand, yes, it's mainstream because in many markets people talk about MLS. In many markets, young kids like me, if I was growing up now, would aspire to play in MLS instead of just work for MLS. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of more corporates and more newspaper space for MLS.
Yes.
However, MLS still has to compete with the behemoth of the NFL, the behemoth of the NBA, the long history of Major League Baseball, and really a behemoth as well because
Yeah.
it's a sport. It was America's pastime for so long, and to some people it still is.
Yeah.
The NHL has had a long history as well, and all of the university sports, as we said. So while, in my opinion, MLS is a huge success of where it was in 1996 and where it is in 2020. But if
Mhm.
you talk to the general person in America, the regular person who may or may not love soccer or football, or may watch a little bit of European football during the World Cup, or sorry, during Champions League, or watch the World Cup, they may still say that I'm not sure. I don't think they've made it yet.
Mhm.
But then if you talk to a lot of other people in a lot of pockets, I would say that the MLS has achieved incredible amounts of targets. And I would say that also it's one of the most, I think the business model of MLS should be studied by many countries around the world because the business model is really, it's a single entity model focused on controlled spending, focused on shared ownership of the league by the owners. So it's almost like what's best for the league is what's thought about and focused on. And ultimately, a league is a business. It needs to
Yeah.
sustain itself. It needs to
Correct.
expand and grow. MLS has proven that over many years, but it will take time for it to be as mainstream as an NBA or an
Right.
NFL, because those are that have a lot longer history and those are sports that are more American, unfortunately, considered American, conceptually
Yes.
American in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you also need to understand whether you're not running to be number one. You are just trying to betterment of yourself. I think that also can give better opportunities for the industry
Absolutely.
that you are. Uh, so yes. So and also why these questions come in because US is known for the amazing packaging or everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what the whole beauty is. Like they can we have known we have seen like your life in the US, my stay in US. Every time I saw that everything is packaged well. So I think
Yeah.
that is where they should see where it's going. As we know in football, a lot of technologies are coming into place because there are no fans in the stadium. So we are looking at empty stadiums playing the role. So people are saying if no fans is still is fine, but no game is a bigger issue. At least the game is happening, the betting industry works, the
Yeah.
broadcaster industry works. So at least there is a revenue coming into the sports at certain level. So what kind of technologies that you feel as a fan will really excite you in the current situation, next 6 months, 1 year kind of time frame?
I think that the biggest technology that's going to excite me is, and it's really not going to happen in the next just few months, but I know it's out there, is virtual reality. So let's say, like I'll say short term and kind of longer term or more realistic. Shorter
Mhm.
term right now, if I turn on a game, yes, you don't see fans, even if they're fake fans or digitally enhanced fans. Okay, fine, I'll see it, but my mind knows this is not real.
Yeah.
What I would want to see then is a little bit more maybe wearables or something that's unique that they're trying out that maybe they wouldn't have tried out so early, but there's
Hmm.
something that's going to help me feel more a part of the game that's not
Right.
really virtual reality as much as it is just a special camera that goes in. So
Correct.
I might not be watching the exact same Anfield that I was before, where you have real people singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" and that the cop in as exciting and compact with people as it is. But I'm able to see something different. But I'm like, you know what? This is not just an inferior version of my last viewing experience. This is something that's maybe cool and different in its own way. So in the
Yeah.
short term, I'd like to feel I'm getting something that I didn't get before. In
Hmm.
the longer run, I don't know if you tried those Oculus virtual reality
I do have it.
health.
I have it. Yeah.
Okay, they're really, I mean, they're unbelievable, and I know a lot of the what's available right now in the technology in sports and around virtual reality. Um, I would love to see Oculus or somebody who produces something similar to be able to sell those at a reasonable rate for people around the world, and the Premier League, Bundesliga, MLS, or all the other leagues around the world to be able to move fast and providing the access for us to get that virtual reality experience. Because what the research is showing for everyone right now, especially like the ones I've read in North America, people are not comfortable, even when it becomes safer, potentially safer to go into a stadium with 50, 60, 80,000 people. Many people, at least right now, are saying I'm not comfortable. I would rather watch from home in the comforts of my safe environment, my people that I know don't have coronavirus versus going put myself into that kind of risk. And so this is a time to introduce virtual reality to the masses as fast as possible. And I'm excited for it because again, it goes back to, is this just an inferior viewing experience or am I getting something new? And seeing LA Galaxy play LAFC in a half-filled stadium, for me is an inferior viewing experience when I'm watching it on TV. But if I see it now and I'm able to kind of see what Carlos Vela and Chicharito are doing and through a different type of lens, I would find that kind of interesting and different and cool and make it a little bit more acceptable about these changes.
Correct. I think so. Yeah. So I was also going the same thing. Like VR is going to play the biggest role in the current situation. That in IPL, imagine I'm sitting next to Virat Kohli in the dugout and get the viewership, the view from the dugout. If I'm wearing the goggle, I think it's going to be fun. And I'm sure Apple is planning a big way because they acquired Next VR recently for 100 million. So I think Next VR had really cool stuff on the sports VR side, that the content that they had on the NBA mainly. So that I'm sure that is what they're looking at. So Neel, from moving from the whole the football side of your journey, now coming to the journey of being an academician. And coming in the industry of sports education with GISB, and you started with as a DSK Shivajian CEO. You started with Sportsy as a visiting faculty, and from there to GISB director and starting the whole course and running it successfully as a third year. And really, congrats for that. So, how do you think that transformation happened for you? Was it something that really close to you, that, or it was a kind of natural thing happened without thinking much, or you actually took a thoughtful decision to be in the sports education side?
It's something I think about a lot, and it's something and I appreciate the question because it forces or allows me to go back into my own mindset and heart set and think about these transitions in my life. One of them being to move from the US to India, and the second transition was getting married, and another transition is going from the football management side to the education side as well. And I would consider these up there, all three of these in that same world, as big decisions that I've had to make, that I've made in my life. And you and Dr. Nimkar from Symbiosis, I'm very grateful to, because what's happened is that, as many of us, and including you, said before your education time, I'm sure I got a lot of opportunities to do guest lectures, right? And a guest lecture, I've done it in the US, I've done it in Europe, and I've done many in India. They're fantastic. It just fills your ego, right? Fun. It's like the fun uncle syndrome. You walk into a classroom, you just share some stories about your life, about sports. People are very nice to you. The students take some pictures and selfies, and then you leave with some nice gift and you go. And I started even at Symbiosis doing a guest lecture, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed campus. I enjoyed the students. And when I was offered the opportunity to teach a couple of classes at Symbiosis, I recognized the difference in what it is to be a faculty, right? And to deliver something and to be with those students every few days or whatever it might be, but for many hours, ensuring that they learn. And when I would go home back to my house in Pune, or my home in Mundwa, and I would be on the as the CEO of DSK Shivajian, I saw there's highs in both. There's a high of running a professional football club and a Liverpool academy, which I love. And there was a high to teaching that I also found myself really enjoying. And then, and as life was going on and as I was taking more classes, I recognized this education space is really calling to my heart. I have been fortunate to have worked in the industry at that point, about 17 years. I had done my MBA in sports management in the US. I've been mentoring and counseling a lot of people who want to work in sports in both India and the US and even Europe. And I thought, you know what? If I'm going to really do something that I feel like is going to leave a legacy in India, especially, I've been here for 10 years now, and I really want to leave a lasting impact. I think the best way I can do that is to develop the next generation of leaders in sports, and to do it in a way that's industry designed, meaning that the industry designs and delivers the educational experience. Because I feel like we're going to be serving the industry in the best way by giving them the most industry experience possible. So I learned a lot at Simbi, and it just worked out that India on track, the parent company of GISB, Gaurav Madhwell, who you know very well, and Vivek Sethi as well. They were both interested in this concept of an industry designed education platform. And we just put the two together, and my passion for it and whatever experience I had, plus their, the width and breadth and depth of their company, IoT, plus the great people they have in their management team. And when you put those things together with the commitment to create the best sports management education experience in Asia, it just happened. And I'm the fortunate person to be the program director and to help establish it, but I really feel like it got birthed out of the industry, because the industry, we've all been talking about the need to have quality professionals join our companies where we don't have to teach them too much, because they come in with that knowledge and network and attitude that you'd hope. And I feel that we've just created something that is offering what students want, is a job, access to a job in sports, the best possible pathway. And we're created something what the industry wants, is ready-made individuals to join their organization. So I honestly, my first job was my dream job at MLS when I was 22, and now I'm 40 years old and I'm sitting as the program director of GISB. I would say this is my equally dream job. They're both absolutely amazing, and I get to work with people like you and others who come in and teach our program, and I just feel very blessed that I get to do this type of role in my life.
Yeah, it's actually fun when what you were saying. I think it echoed my sentiment as well. That's what the ever young feel that you get while going there, and it's kind of it's not only about pampering your own ego by going there, but it's also the knowledge sharing that you can do. I think it feels good to give it back. People look up to you, and what you give. I think it's a phenomenon. I think what you are doing is a great job with Gaurav and Vivek. I think that the team is amazing to do that. So in sports education side, there are two segments to it. So I want to ask you how it is sports education, professional education in sports is important for an athlete as a plan B. Because that is one of the things. In fact, right now I was reading in the current off season, the season was not on. There are a lot of NBA players from the Golden State team actually enrolled with the Stanford campus to do the small courses on the education side. It has never happened before or never publicized before. So if it is happening at that level where they have understood the importance of playing game and the money is so much in India, except cricket, nobody has seen the money as of now. So how do you think the whole plan B that can be derived for an athlete because of education?
Yeah, I know it's also important. So one of the things when I was running the Liverpool FC DSK Academy, so it was a full residential academy, as you know, Sid, and we had about 60 to 70 youth players, athletes 14 to 18 that were living there, and some were on scholarships and some were paying some money to be there. But these were all school-aged youth, and it was shocking to me the amount of parents who I would meet who, when they would come on campus to talk about the academy, and they asked me about education, and or at least I would ask them, what's the plan about education? Do you want to utilize our tuition in our system, or are you going to do correspondence? Many of the parents would say, no, it's okay. Just I just want my child to play football. And this would be a 14-year-old. And I was thinking, and I'm from the US. I'm from a place where this concept of student athlete is drilled into you.
Yes.
You're playing sports, and then you also study, and you go to university. Many people, and for 4 years they're playing sports every day. They're training or they're working out or doing something, and then they're also finishing their university degree. and then you could still become a professional athlete after that.
Yes.
And even for me, I mean, I always balance the both of them. So it's not even just important; it's vital. There should not just be only sports and only education. I'll give you one quick story. When we were in the process of working with FC Barcelona to set up the FC Escola project here in India, this was in trips that we were taking with the Conscient group in
Consent group, yeah.
2010 and 2011. And when one of our first trips with the directors of Conscient Group, we went over there. The head of FCB Escola, a person named Javi Marseille, he was giving us a tour of La Masia. And I was so excited. I'm going to go to La Masia. This is going to be my, I wanted to go. I wanted to see all these players training. And when I went there was nobody on the pitch. And I think, where are all the footballers? I thought all the age groups would be training. And then we went into the clubhouse. They were all in classrooms. They each one, all from age 10 all the way to age 18, were doing some sort of education with tutors because it was their classroom time. And I was just amazed because it's like, you think football academies is all about football training, but to be a good player, you need both your body and your mind to be at its peak. The other thing is that it's so important to have it's not just the plan B, it's the plan afterwards.
Yes.
So even if you don't make it as a footballer, yes, it is a plan B. It's something you can do, something in business or whatever it might be. But at some point, you're going to stop playing. And not everyone who stops playing is going to want to be a coach.
Yes.
And I do believe that we require people who have experience in the game to be business minded and to be able to, or at least have the business management acumen to go and be successful in different areas of life. And education at the right time gives you that foundation to learn. I mean, you have knowledge, but it also gives you a discipline to learn. That same mechanism that has you read an American football playbook and memorize it, or or study a lot of the best techniques for football to hit a free kick, or a basketball playbook, or a cricket playbook. You can actually just transfer that same discipline into the education field. It's just that sometimes an athlete thinks that there's a line here. They're only on the athlete side, and anything education is here. And I just think that they need the right mentorship when they're younger to say that, no, have a holistic learning.
Correct.
Focus on your athletics. Don't ever sacrifice, but don't turn off the education side as well. So I think it's vital. It's not even like an option. You should always study and play at the same time.
Right. And I think I experienced that with my son in the Reliance Foundation in Young Champ program. Like, the importance given by Nita Ambani is very clear about the importance given to academics and football together. So they are training for many hours, but the school is not a light school. It's a normal, proper school that they have. So as a parent, sometimes I feel, what is it? He's staying away from me, and you're making him go to school for 9 or 8 hours as well. Let him play football. But as a other side, I said, yes, this is something which is important, because that's where you build a holistic approach towards the whole thing. So we spoke about the grassroots of the young age. How about the people who are in the older age and want to do the MBA and those kind of degrees, professional degrees? Because a basic qualification is fine, but now we are talking about professional qualification, which enables them. Or why I'm asking an athlete, because Rahul Dravid made a statement that other than coaching the athlete, I think creating employability skills for the athlete is way more important in place like India. So on those terms, how do you think that, how many athletes actually approach you that I want to do an MBA, I want to do something for the future, and how important it is for them?
Yeah, I had a really good talk with Subrata Paul. He actually joined me in one of our careers in sports sessions in Kolkata, which was a very special experience for me. And he represents a lot of the mature footballers in the country, because they're hitting that point where they're getting to that retirement age. They're still extremely successful on the pitch and have great abilities, but they're looking at their future. And Subrata was speaking to me, and I think I also connected him to you as well, about opportunities to further his education, because he did want to one day run a football club and give back to the sport in the way that, because the sport has done a lot for him. I think the mature, intelligent athletes are in that space right now where they're looking at the management versus the technical side. There's nothing wrong with the technical side. Some people are just geared to be coaches and they're primed. We need a lot of great coaches in India across all sports. But we also need a lot of great general managers and CEOs and heads of grassroots and heads of finance and legal. So my recommendation to every player that's potentially listening to this or friends of athletes is do what a lot of my kind of favorite players growing up in the US or even favorite players at MLS started to do, which I find very intelligent. So during the last few seasons, when they knew their retirement is coming very soon or potentially an injury or something else that might end their career, they did two things. One was that they were taking online classes at local universities. And the second thing they were doing, and these were very focused classes. So you don't just take it, I think a general MBA is okay, but at that stage, if you're 25 or 35 or 30, you might say that, you know what, I'm clear. I want to get straight into, I want to do marketing.
Right.
I want to be head of grassroots. So you have to learn project management, maybe learn partnerships. So do something specific. I don't think a general MBA makes sense unless you just want to be a generalist at that point, because that's
correct.
The second thing they were doing is they were starting to shadow the CEO of the club. So, for example, a player, Danny Kennedy, who played for the LA Galaxy for a bit, he was shadowing the GM, the president, Chris Klein, who's also a former MLS and US national team player. And I was so excited. I'm like, man, you're studying at USC, I believe at the time, Danny was, and then he was also shadowing the president of a professional franchise. In that process, and so they're basically mentoring him to take up some sort of leadership role when he graduates. So the smart ones, when I was the CEO of DSK, if one of our senior players were ever to come up to me and say, hey, you know what, Neel, I would love to one day be a professional or a CEO of a club. Can I just shadow you a little bit, or can you just show me what you're working on? Like, can you show me the budget for the club, or can you show me the marketing plan? I just want to learn. I would be so thrilled to provide that learning. So they're getting a little bit of an MBA course for free in their own campus while they're still able to train and play for the team and get their salary. So my recommendation is use those benefits that you've earned, which is access to senior people in the industry, as well as the online courses or maybe executive courses that are being offered.
Right. I think very well said. And Subrato's example was pretty bang on. The way even in Symbiosis we had Sandesh, right? Sandesh Gadkari, after his professional I-League career, he came for his MBA and now working in the sports industry in the management side. I think these are the things which have really shown a great value. So almost coming to the closure of our discussion, I think we both can keep on discussing this for long, but we need to have a logical pause somewhere. I don't say call a stop, but pause somewhere. I wanted to know from you, what are the, as per you globally, because the world is opening up quite a bit, what are the straightforward opportunities or little hatke opportunities in sports for people who want to have a career?
Yeah. You know, it's changing also because of COVID, and the industry is slightly shifting, at least for now, and we don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months from now. But I would look at it from the two clear angles for me, and then there's probably a couple other ways to look at it. But one of them is content creation. Now, this is clearly a time where content is king. We were online now. We were online a lot before COVID, and we're going to be online a lot later as well. So like what you're doing, Sid, in terms of creating unique content, like these conversations and a lot of the other great stuff that you're doing, content could be graphic design, content could become video editing and putting together quick things. Content could even be memes or having really great Twitter posts or Insta posts or whatever it might be. But this is a time where if you can create content that you can engage large amounts of people, many organizations in sport will be excited to have you join, because ultimately we just want to expand our customer base, and if we can do it through unique content, and younger people are the ones who can really bring that, because they're a lot more knowledgeable about different ways to engage people with content. The second way is just, and this is like the easiest thing to say, the hardest thing to just do, but it's all of us are in a time where we're really tight financially right now. Tight financially, when I say that, I mean we've all taken a hit mostly,
Yeah.
unless there's certain unique organizations and unique industries where just thrived off of the lockdown. Most of our businesses have slowed down or really had a severe impact. Anybody who can help us figure out how to generate revenue,
Yeah.
whether it's some basic business development, even a small, even 1 rupee, I'm going to take seriously. And if it could be, I'll take, for example, GISB. If somebody came to me and said, hey, you know what, Neel, I heard about this really great online program that I think would be, if it's being offered in Sweden, I think they do it in English. I think we can bring it to India. It's about scouting. Can we do it through GISB? I'll manage the relationship and then I can even help you market it because I know a lot of my friends want to do scouting. Even if I break even on that venture, I will love this person. I will hire that person because I'll know that, wow, what kind of initiative to that. So right now is the time to be innovative and creative to help people understand how you can add value to them. If it doesn't always have to be financial, but it's you're gonna get fast tracked if you can help somebody
Yeah.
make money because that's just the reality of life or business as
Correct.
well. Those are two. The third one is just technology in general. I think there's a lot of engineers probably listening to this and engineers that are out there who know a lot about technology, but don't necessarily, but also maybe don't want to work in that space forever. They want to bring that into sport because maybe they also have a love for sport. This is a time to try to help figure out how do we use technology to reduce costs or create innovations in our engagement with our customers as well. So this is, and what I'm trying to say is that this is not just one job out there. Again, I'll use GISB. If you bring me technological innovation that's going to help me educate my students better at lower costs or not rely so heavily on visiting faculty or physical campus all the time,
Yes.
I'm going to take you seriously. And if you can help me either make money or reduce costs or provide better customer service, there's always going to be some job for somebody like that. And
Right.
so my biggest recommendation to everyone out there who's listening is don't think about it like, oh, JSW Sports, Bangalore FC is my favorite team. I'm going to go work for them. That's cool too. You can always dream. Or
Yeah.
Manchester United is my favorite team. I got to get a job with them. Think about these business needs right now in the area of business of sports, and
Mhm.
how can you fill those needs in a way that's most comfortable and exciting for you. If you can develop yourself in that way, I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I think you summarized pretty well. Instead of getting into the details of marketing, operations, and all the typical things, I think you summarized pretty well. One is content, one is technology, and one is where you how are you going to contribute to my revenue. In return, I can give
Yeah,
you can get a job, and we both say Happy New Year at the end of the day. It's
exactly.
yeah. So I think it's you summarized pretty well. This question could have answered in probably 15 different career options, but I think you it the I that's what I admire about the way Neel is very clear on thought process and very concise in his answer. I think it was pretty good.
Most of the time, my wife would tell you differently.
Whatever I get to see, yeah. Okay, so I think Neel, I think it was wonderful having you on the on this, and wish you all the best. I think we all are looking forward to the sports to open up. We want the sport on the ground for us to enjoy sport at home in multiple technology, careers, and everything. Because this is a time when even the parents are having little doubts about where the sports industry going to go and should my kid take admission or not to take admission, all those things. So for any message for them from your side, as I always say, yes, you have to play and the game is going to come back. So any message from your side when they are worried about their kids to have a career in sports?
Yeah, I always use this 100,000 hour principle, right? You're going to work, most of us, if we start working around 22, 23, and we retire at 65, we're going to work about 100,000 hours of our life, right? And you might as well enjoy as many of those hours as possible. This is a tough time. It is, but it's not just a tough time in sports. This is a tough time in every industry in the world.
Yes.
So if you're gonna gear yourself up towards something for those 100,000 hours, you might as well prime yourself to get a job in an area of life that you're most excited about. That's gonna make sure that you enjoy as many of those hours. So the other thing I'll say in that particular thing is once you follow your heart, that's good. But figure out what is your point of differentiation.
Yes.
There are hundreds of millions of people who are trying to get jobs in sports or media entertainment. They're all out there in the world. Think about who you are. Who is Siddharth Deshmukh? Who is Neel Shah? Who are you out there listening? And what is going to make me attractive? How can I leverage my skills, my strengths, my knowledge, my network to be attractive to the industry? And I think that's the time now when the lockdown is going on or things are a little slower than maybe they normally are to figure out what makes me special and how can I keep building on that and how can I use that to serve the industry. That's going to help you get your foot in the door a lot faster. But definitely follow your heart. Don't jump ship because you're scared.
Yes, I think that is what we've been doing, following our heart, and just looking forward to the amazing thing that industry has to give it back to us, and how we can contribute. I think it's probably the best decision of my life when I moved from the IT to sports 9 years back. So with that, Neel, really appreciate your time, and it was fun chatting with you, and looking forward to see you soon in person, uh,
Yes.
and not on the Zoom call. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. This was a great conversation, and we'll definitely have you in the GISB campus in Mumbai as soon as it's show. But
Yes,
keep doing the
looking forward
great
to that.
work you're doing.
Hi guys, thank you for watching, thank you for sharing, and thank you for liking. Please do subscribe on the channel to spread the word about Sportsy. Let's talk sports. Please subscribe.